Hello everyone, my name is Amos and I want to take you a tutorial on designing web pages with HTML and CSS. What you can see on your screen is an example of a web page that is created with basic HTML and CSS. So quickly, I'm going to show you how we can achieve this together. So please follow the tutorial as we'll proceed. So let's start. So the text editor I'm using to write my code is Sublime Text. So what I need to do now is to add uh, my folder. I want to add a folder to the project. So going into my local host, I'll come here. I'm looking for Savannah Cafe. I select it. So that's we've already opened the folder. So for us to create an HTML file, so make sure you right click on top of this place to create a new file. Let's just say login.html. Please ensure you add .html at the back of the name of the file to save it as an HTML file. So this will save it as an HTML file. Then in this folder that we've created here, we need to add a CSS file to it, or we need to add a CSS file to it. So from here, you right click on the CSS folder, click on new, then you can just call it style.css because this is a CSS file. So basically, if you are naming your CSS file, let your file end with .css. If you are naming your HTML file, you name it as .html. You can call it any name. So for the purpose of what we want to achieve, we are making use of login.html. All right, so let's go back to our web page. This is what we want to achieve. We want to create this form with this link and this background image. So I'm going to close this. So I'm going to add, I'm going to start writing my codes and adding some links to it. So if you are new to HTML and CSS, this is how you write your code. Basically, you can start with HTML, and I've already installed some packages on it. So once I just type HTML, it's going to bring all this thing by default. So this is how our HTML, these are the codes that we need to have in our HTML file. Now, this is the opening tag. Each in HTML, each of this thing has a closing tag. This is the opening tag. This is the closing tag. So ensure that they are. So the closing tag is written with the greater sign, the HTML, and you have the head, and you have the title, and we have the body. So everything that we're going to be putting in the head, our CSS style, our file icon, everything will be inside this head. While the web page that we're going to be designing, everything is going to be inside the body. So let's get started with the project. So I'm going to be adding some external links to it. It's called bootstrap. So you can just go to Google and you type bootstrap CDN, and this is exactly what you are looking for. So when you click on it, you can open it in a new tab. This is where you get. So this is the CSS. This is the CSS bootstrap. This is our. This is for the JavaScript. This is for the JavaScript. So for whichever one you want to make use of, I will make use of this CSS and yeah, mainly this CSS alone. When we get to the JavaScript section, we are going to write We're going to be needing that one too. All right, so let's get started with our HTML file as we want to build the login page. So you add this to your HTML opening tag. These are called the attributes. Then in the head, you need to add this. All these are to beautify your web. All these are to beautify your web page. Meta. So this is what you get for that. It makes it when you are viewing it on different kind of device. All these things ensures that they shrink in, they make it compatible with different device. So these are exactly what all this meta tag is for. So another thing that we're going to change this. We'll change it to viewport and add the content. We change it to width, device width, still inside this. We have, you set the initial to scale, initial scale is equals to 1, then shrink to fit is no. So next method tag I'm going to tap this. You can just type, so it will auto suggest it. You click enter, but whatever this thing you want to put there, you put. So add description, then the content. You can just leave this one empty or you remove it. And let's add the last one, which is name. Put in the author and the content. All right, so what should be the title? Let's just call it Savannah Cafe. This is getting through the shift on your keyboard. Then we can change it to log in and change it to login. Okay, so let's continue. Then for you to write comments on HTML, you put the less sign, the exclamation mark, you add this dot dot. So all these ones will not be seen. I want to add my five icon here. That's called site icon. If you check most web pages, all these this red icon, this blue icon, these are called site icons, or you call them five icons. So that is what we want to do here. So how do we do it? We need to add our link tag. So make it this one is not a style sheet, so we'll change it to shortcut icon. The type will be image. The image, then the type of format of the image. You can use JPEG, you can use PNG. So now where do we get this href attribute? Is for you to specify the location of where the image that you want to use is. So if you check this folder very well, we have the img folder. If you click on it, we have the background image, we have the fab icon, the PNG, and the like. So this is the one we want to make use of. So it's going to be image/5. You need to write the name of the file correctly. So that's that on down. Then we need to get to save time. I'm going to be pasting some codes, some These are some codes there just to save time. We're going to add font awesome. Just make sure that all these they are inside the head, and our CSS file that we're adding to it. We need to change this to style.css. All right. So remember the href that was make use of here. This is where we are using the same thing here. So this is the bootstrap CSS that I was talking about. This is all this one is also the font awesome. These are external links. So font awesome are, let me show you the example. Go to Google and you type font awesome CDN. So I always get the external link on the web. You can also, the Google fonts that we're going to use. If you check my code here, I have a Google. This is the link to my font awesome icon. This is the link to my Google form. To the Google fonts I'm going to be using. This is the bootstrap CSS that I'm going to use, and this is my own custom CSS file, which is this one that I've created here. It's empty. So if so this is what we have. This is what we've done so far. So if you check properly, you see the CDN. You see the CDN there. You can download them and specify the paths that you want them to. So that's where you can get your all those external links from. All right. So what's the next thing that we need to do? Now we need to create the form itself. We need to create the form itself. If we go and save this, and how do we open this file? We open our web browser. I'm using my local host, so localhost / Savannah Cafe. If you check properly, there's nothing. Oh, sorry, Savannah Cafe login.html. Yeah, if you look properly here, we have Savannah Cafe login, and this our fab icon is showing there. So that's what we have. This is what we have here. So this is if you install your the local server I'm using is WAMP server, so you can use XAMPP or whichever one that is preferable to you. When we get to PHP, I'm also going to take you tutorials on PHP where you can submit form into the database. So when we get there, I'll show you briefly on how you can install your WAMP server, create a database, and the likes. So the part that was, this is the name of the folder. So we have localhost / depending on where your file directory is. So localhost / Savannah Cafe / login.html. So the page is blank because we've not created anything on the page. So that's what we're going to do. So all of these things has to be in the head. So for us to start writing, to create the ones that will do the web page itself. So let me open the bootstrap bootstrap site, so that you can see some of the things that we're going to be making use of. so that it won't look convincing. Where am I getting all those file from? So this is these are the bootstrap sites. They have a lot of documentation that you can go through, the layout, the content, the forms, everything that we're going to be creating, input groups. And so as you follow my tutorial, I will keep explaining all these things, how they work. So basically, I will just put HTML and CSS hand in hand, meaning that HTML, in the sense, I'll use an example of a house. You are trying to build a house. That's how HTML function builds. But when you build a house and you look at it, it doesn't look that beautiful because it's just blocks and bricks and every other thing that is there. But when you paint them, you paint them with different kind of colors. The house, you paint it, you design it, and like that. That's what the CSS does. So that's the best way to, for me, the best way to describe how HTML and CSS is. So let's get on. So we'll create our div here, a div tag. Please ensure that your indentation is properly done. So this is a div. Check some of this in here. You can see the div here. So this is where these are examples of all these things that we're using. So this is a div. It's like a container to house in everything that we're going to be using. All right, so let's continue. So in this div, we're going to give it a class of container fluid. Ensure as you are opening one div, you ensure you close them back. We are going to add another one called div. Give it a class of a row, no gutter, sorry. Give it a row of no gutter. Then inside here we add another div. We give this one a class of display none. That's what this stands for. We give it DM, we give it DM. All these are bootstrap classes since we've called the link here. So this all these are bootstrap classes. So since we've called the link here, it will go and fetch where all these labels are instead of us trying to pass. You can pass them. You can pass them into your directory and you call them in code, or I'm passing the link directly into the uh, into the code. Then we have this, and we give it the class of pg image, background image. So all these things are bootstrap classes. This means column medium 4, because on an HTML page, we'll come back to this way. This, what you are looking at, is this row can contain 12 rows. I mean, the number of columns of a row that you get is 12. So by the time you are viewing them at different screen sizes, you notice that those things, they are changing. So which means that if you have 4 items here, so just make sure you go through this bootstrap, you understand this layout, this grid sizes. This is exactly what I'm talking about. So these are one of the 3 columns. So the total of the column is 12. So So we have a div, the container, it is 12. So if you break them down and you you slow now, look at it here. So just go through this, you understand the how the grid sizes work. But back to what we're trying to achieve. Let's just follow it. You get it. You should go over it over and over again. Now we'll create another div. Create another div. We'll call it. We'll give it a class of column medium 8. That means when it is on medium size, you should use 8. But when it's on large screen size, you should use 6. That's what we are trying to say. And next one, we give it another div. We've not created the form. We're actually doing, we're still creating the div. Then we give this one the class of login dflex. And we align items center. That means all the items should be in center. Then the padding to be 5. That's what this py stands for. Then we have another div. And see that all these divs are too much. So it's just to beautify what we are doing. So this one is going to be a class of container, not container flip this time around. We'll create another div, which is give it the class of row, and give it the class of row. We also have another div. Sorry. So we have another div. We give it another class of column medium 9. When it is on medium screen, you should use 9. When it is on larger screen, you should make use of 8 and use MX Auto. Okay, now we'll give it a heading of an H3 tag. These are common HTML tag. So we'll give it class of login header, margin bottom 4. And we'll call it login. Let's just say welcome is login. So that's our heading. Then we have, if we create our form now, which is the form tag, using the form tag. Note that each of these things has an opening and a closing tag, and the div, the indentation is for you to know where all those things are closing, because if all these things are not closing properly, the page will be scattered. So we have, go ahead to create our form now with another div. We'll call it, we'll give it a class of form group label, form label group. Then we make use of our input tag. This time we'll put it type to be email. That means the only type of input that you can insert there is an email. You can't add anything there. But we are not submitting the form. So let's just add an attribute of ID to input email. We give it a class of form control. Give it a class of form control. Then we give it a placeholder. We give it a placeholder. We can say email address. Focus. So we have another. So we give it a label. Then we say email address. So ID is, we add the 4 attributes in input email. You are going to see the implication of this. We are trying to, what we will add the CSS style to it is, this is the ID. So I'm going to try and save the page now so that we can see how the HTML looks like without the without the CSS. But let me create the second one, which is for the so I'll just copy this and paste it. So we can just change this to impute password. We change this to impute password. We can change this one to password, and change this type to password. And only enter password here. Then you can say replace inside the placeholder. Inside the placeholder, I will say password. Okay. So then let's add a button. Button. And just say login. Let's give it some class. Give it the class of btn large, btn success. If you check through the bootstrap site, you see all this. When you go to the button section, all these are bootstrap classes. btn login text uppercase. That means the text on it should be in uppercase, and the font width should be bold. That means font width bold, then margin bottom to 2. Then let's add like an anchor tag there. You can change this to let's just say text center. Then we have an anchor tag, which is the A tag. Sorry. We have an anchor tag. So it's going to have an href. The href is that where you want it to go. So let's just say you should go to register.html. I'm going to create this maybe in our next tutorial. We're going to create the register, or we'll do it together. We are creating a login page and a register page. They are going to be the same, but it's just few additions. So we'll give this an ID register a class of small. So what is the text that should be there? Let's just say don't have an account. We'll say register. Now let's go and view our page and see everything we've done so far. Let me make this screen wider. So now you can see in the form that we've created with just an ordinary HTML. So why does this thing looks this way? So for us to make it a beauty to achieve the sample website, the sample web page that I've shown, let's add our CSS to, we'll add our CSS to it. So we'll come to our style.css. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to add our roots. Sorry, this is how you write your CSS. This is how you style your CSS. The curly braces, and just put it on impute padding X. I'll give you 1.5 ren. Let me copy this and place it in impute padding X. We give it 0.75. All right, you don't need this. Just make sure that every of your CSS has an opening and closing curly braces. Now we have a class that is called login, which is this. So you want to give it, you want to style it. We have so for you, if it is a class, you use dot, but if it is an ID like this, you use hash, and you make sure you reference the tag that you are calling, because if you don't reference the correct tag, you won't be able to get it. So we have image. We have another class that's called image. Where is it? Image. Okay. So come back to our CSS image, and we'll give it maximum meaning height. That's the CSS property. Meaning height to be 100 VH. Then the background image class, that's the BG. We want to add our background image now. So we have the background image, the URL. Now this is the background image that we are trying to make use of, but you need to specify the folder that thing is. So how do we do that? So because I'm in a localhost, so what I do is add dot slash my img folder slash my background. The name of the file is background image dot jpg. That's what I have. That's what I have here. Then we need to set the background cover. We need to set the background position to and the background cover. Let's make it center. Then we have the background cover. No, sorry, background size. We'll make it we'll make that one cover. Okay. Now we have a lot of BTN classes there. So everywhere that you see the BTN, so we want to make the font family to be with this sans serif. This is the Google font that we imported on our file here. So this is the font that we want to make use of. All right, so let's go to the next thing. Remember, we have a class, we have a BTM, the class of success here. So these are where all our BTNs are. So we want to add, so our BTN success, give it a background color, of C. You can, for you to get a different HTML color, you can just go to HTML colorcodes.com. So you can go to HTML. So you can here. So this is where you pick any. You just copy it. Make sure you add your hash. Your hash. Since it's C20 83. Then let's give it a border color. So you have suggested here, we'll just copy this as the CSS color, then we give the color itself to be white. So that's FFF. So that's for the BTN. So when we over this button, what do we want to happen? Put it there. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to save what we've done so far. I'm going to save what we've done so far and review how it looks like to differentiate. So on over, this is what we want to happen. That means when you mouse over this BTN sources that we have here, when you mouse over it, so this is what we have before when we created the HTML ordinarily. So if we refresh our page now, you can see what we have now. The background image that we set, here, we call it here. This is the background image. These are all the CSS style, the bootstrap CSS style that we gave to it. So this is where we are calling it from. If you just say, you remove this and we save it and go back, the image will no longer be there. It's gone. It's because we didn't specify the correct route. So make sure you specify the correct route. And let's refresh back. We have our image background and we have our header. So how we want to style this properly now. So let's continue. So what do we do? We'll come back to our login header. We have our login header. No, this is our login. This is where we have our login header. So we want to give it a CSS style. So the login header. I want to give it this font size. I mean this font, yeah, this type of font. Then we give it the font size and font width of 300. Then our register link. We have this, so it is an ID. So for you to be able to use it, we need to specify it. So that means the anchor tag with an ID of register link. We want to give it this color. So let's just copy it, save time. We will need to remove this background color here. So that's what we have, our color. Then we have our BTN our BTN login, which is this class here. It's a lot of work, but you just need to take your time and do it. There are different ways you can create form. This is just one of the ways which I'm showing you. So give it a font size of 0.9 rem, letter spacing of 0.0005 rem, giving a padding. This padding will work for padding top, padding right, and the rest 0.5, 0.7 rem, 1 rem. Okay. Then give it a border radius. This is border radius property. We'll give it border radius of 2 rem. Okay, now our form label group. Our form label group is a class, so we need to add dots here. This one is an ID, that's why we added hash. So our form label group, we put the position to be relative, and the margin bottom, we give it the class of 1 rem. Then we want to style the form label group. Just to save time, I'm going to have to go and copy this thing, then I will explain them on the so I'm pasting this now. Our form label group is here. Now we have form label group, we have the label, and we have the input. Now that's what we have here. Our form, this means that you want to give the same style to the same attribute. So that's why we have form label group, form input. If I'm typing them one after the other, I'm going to take a lot of time. So that's why I just need to copy it. So I want to scale it. So I will just explain. So give it the padding of the input, this one that we declared here. That's what we are putting here. To input y, input padding y, input padding x. The height we set it to auto. Then we set the border radius to 2 rem. Now the form group label itself, the positioning to be absolute, top 0, left 0, display block width 100, the margin, let me just remove this. There's no need. Margin bottom, override. It's just like a comment. Override the default label. That means this default one. This is the default label that is there. So this is the CSS style. To override it, the line height is 1.5. We give it this color. We give the cursor to the text. Match the input under the label. That means we want the input. You are going to see the implication of all this. Let me save it and see. Let's see if we refresh it. So this is exactly what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to put in the label inside it. So once I decide to type an email address, it is a CSS style that causes this thing to move up. That's why you can see it that way. This is exactly what we want to achieve. All the BTN styling that we've done. You can remember this one that we did mouse over. This is the BTN sources. It was initially green, but we're giving it a CSS style. So this was initial. When you mouse over it, you have login it changes to black. If you mouse over this one is black, it's come here. So if you click on this thing now, it will say it's not found because we didn't create this uh, register.html. So this is exactly what we're trying to achieve using HTML and CSS. So let's just quickly make a duplicate of this page that we've created. I will quickly let's just do that now. We'll come here, we'll create. You can just press Control New. If you click on Save, make sure you save it inside this directory. So make it register.html.css. So since we are using the same thing, let me just copy and paste it here. So we are using the same thing. So what we just added to it, we added the name, we added the email address, phone number, password, already, and we gave it name. So this is what we have. So we load our page. Again, we have the login. If you click on this, it will take you to the register. This now, the reason why this is showing this way, this is a form. This is the replica of what we did before. So for us to achieve the same thing, we need there is a particular CSS that we are not pointing to correct, which is this. We name it as portal.css, but the name of our CSS file is style.css, which means it's not pointing to it. So change it to style.css. Let's go back and refresh. So we've achieved exactly what we wanted to do. So if you move it and you type my name, Amos. So these are examples of, it's because of the CSS that we declared here. That's why we have then that all these things are floating. These are the CSS that makes this possible. All these input those placeholders. So these are the CSS that gives it the input from label group placeholder, color transparent, the X and Y that we declared at the top. So this is exactly what we are adding them here to the placeholder. So this is exactly what beautifies our placeholder. If you add a phone number, add password, it's the CSS that moves this thing up. If you erase it, it comes back. If you type anything, it goes up. So that's the work of the CSS. So we've built our house and we've painted it. So since we've painted it, that is how our house is looking beautiful. So we've created a web page using HTML and CSS. So on my subsequent tutorial, we'll be going through how we can create. We've created a form. This is exactly what we're going to use to submit into the database. So if you over on this is what we have. If you create on, if you, is not, we're not submitting the form. So if you click on this, it will take you back to the login page. If you click on this, it will take you back to the register page. These are work of the anchor. These are work of the anchor tag. So if you click here, go back to the login page. Click here, go back to the, and we'll achieve this using using pure HTML code and CSS code to build it. So please, I would love to see our comments. I'd love to see, let's like the video let's comment on it, and let's subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you very much.